Hey, Stefan,
Hey Marcus,
how's it going?
it goes very well. Thanks a lot. And yourself?
Well, a few technical issues today. We had no internet in the office about an hour ago.
Okay.
So we were getting a bit worried whether this was going to even happen. But we're here. And where are you
Perfect.
calling us from?
Yeah, so I'm here in Zurich in my studio. And yeah, we had this morning as well technical problems because we couldn't switch on the light. So we had internet, so but it's all fine now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the technology is kind of getting a bit tired, just like we are of this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So welcome to this live screen time talk today. It's part of our collaboration with Vitra, the well-known international furniture brand that's based not too far from you, I guess, in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And tell us quickly about your studio, which is named after you, Hürlemann. What do you do? What do you specialize in?
So basically, let me say, I've started as an architect. So I studied architecture in Zurich. And then I came to the office of Hannes Wetschel at that time. That was almost 20 years ago. And then we had a business partnership. And unfortunately, he died later on. And I brought the office in the next generation. And based on that, it turned out that I'm the creative mind behind that. And then so we renamed it later on. And yes, so it became Hürlemann. And yeah, basically, my work is focused on architectural projects. The most part are interior design projects. We are working for product design, furniture designs, and also art and brand installations is an important part of what we're doing here.
And tell us about your connection with Vitra. How long have you known the people at Vitra, and how did your collaboration going to come about? I mean, the main point of the talk is to see the collaboration you've done with Vitra, but tell us about your relationship with the company.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is nobody out there who does not know Vitra, and yeah, I've worked as an architect very often with these products for many years, and basically the connection starting developing products was based on a work I did for an architectural project here in Zurich. And out of that project went out the dancing wall project I'm going to explain later on. So.
And you do both architecture and design, right?
Yeah. So I just studied architecture, but I was Hannes that time showed me the world of interior design and furniture design and product design. And yeah, I'm working now for 15 years or so for that. And yeah, but I've studied basically architecture. Yeah.
Great. Well, why don't you show us your work? Fire up your presentation. Let's have a look at that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'll do that. Wait a moment. So I would shortly show you some of the works I did in the past, and just to explain you how I am thinking and how I am designing objects. And therefore I would start with for me, an important design I did a few years ago for a company, Dezeen, and this is a sofa system. And this sofa system is like a very typical project for my work, because normally I don't make design just because I like to do it. So normally I need a good reason and to do something. And this project has started because I had a huge financial an architectural project for a financial company. And in these areas, we have very often the situation that we need some waiting areas and so on. And there are a few products existing on the market, but it was not possible for me to find the right one. So I've decided to do a new one. And this is very often the trigger to get into new products, not because just normally it's a strong need somewhere. And this one is like an interesting one. It's a system. It's a sofa system to understand. For example, this is like a chaise longue or so. And the interesting thing is I very often work systemic. That means my work is very often not only a single piece. It's much more a system in this case, for example, when you have a left side chaise longue or a right side chaise longue, normally you have, when you move your apartment, you have to change the chaise longue. But in this case, we can adapt it by our own, or you can even put the right block into the middle and so on. And together it's a huge product family come together. And this thinking in families and in systems is quite important for my work. Also for later on when I'm going to show you the dancing wall, this is also a system, and it's always a holistic way of design I try to achieve. All right. So another project I would like to show you is like, it's also an architectural element, like the door handles. And this door handle is, again, it's not only just one door handle, it's always the idea to generate a very, let me say, beautiful and simple form that can handle these complex problems, especially when you have huge architectural situations. So this door handle family, again, is not only one handle, it's much more like a whole family again. And in this special case, it's like one product line that can handle all the difficult situations you can have in architectural, let me say, like front doors, residential doors, emergency exit doors, and so on and so on. So this is very typically as well for me to figure out a design based on a strong need, on a strong structure, and then find a nice form for that. Okay. Another kind of a thing of work I would like to show you is, has become quite important in the last years again, because I've started building up installations for companies especially. And this is also quite a systemic approach. In this special case, for example, it was an exhibition I've showed 2018 in Milano and in Ventura Centrale. And that was an exhibition for the oldest Swiss wooden chair and table manufacturer called Horgen Glarus. And the special thing about this exhibition was, or my intention was, to generate an exhibition that makes it possible for the visitor to approach this company and these products in a total different way, to approach the history and or the beauty of this project and the products on a very emotional way. So therefore, you have to know this company is very old, and this company has a huge warehouse of many pieces and parts they don't need anymore. So my idea was to assemble all these parts, and some of the parts they don't even know anymore what kind of chair it was, because it's 100 years old or so. So we have assembled, let me say, hands and heads and bodies and feet and legs, and put together these figures. And then with the possibility, you can see here on the picture, there are these wooden rings. By pulling them, you can move them and they start to get alive. So it was the idea to have the possibility for people to approach this company and they can interact. And when they were, you know, all this design fairs, it's always a busy surrounding and so on. And there's so many impressions. And the idea was, or I hoped that people, when they resume the day, what they have seen, when they have this good feeling and this interesting approach with this company or with these figures, then I think I did a good job. And yeah, this is just one of those works. 1 year later, it was 2019 in the same location, and it's really a pity that Ventura Centrale became a victim of this Corona crisis. So I hope they will restart as soon as possible, because it was really amazing exhibition again, because these spaces, probably you know them, are so amazing. So this was an exhibition I did for a company called Skyframe. Skyframe is a producer of frameless windows. And yeah, as the name it says, frameless windows are invisible, so there are only small frames. And the idea was to generate an experience that makes it possible for people to get a contact to this company. Basically, like the claim of the company was a view, not a window. So I don't want to show windows. This is not that interesting. So it was much more the idea to show a view on a certain thing. In this case, it was a mirror funnel, and this mirror funnel was this large that you can step in, and then when you step in, you are in the black space, and because the funnel was slightly conus formed, And that made it that you are standing in front of a huge sphere. So when you step in this mirror funnel, you just step out of the reality and you step in a virtual world, and you're standing in front of this huge sphere, and makes you feel sacred somehow. And the idea was exactly that, to make this contrast to the normal life in the fair context. And you have the possibility to step out and change the perspective, change the point of view. Yeah, exactly. All right. So also as an architect, we are building up many things like private apartments, private houses, and so on, like stages for people to live, or let me say like entrance areas for headquarters and so on. This is normal stuff, and basically it's always important that the identity of the companies are in the center of that, what I'm doing. It's not just only my handwriting of the design, it's much more the combination of the company's identity and my handwriting. So, and this, for example, is exactly the trigger point also to lead now to the project Dancing Wall and the Dancing Office concept, because this is the entrance desk of PwC Experience Center here in Zurich. And this project was the initial project for this Vitra project. And from there on, I would now just change to and explain a little bit more detailed about how the Dancing Wall has been developed. So basically, I didn't start with the idea to say, how do we work in the future? That was not the starting point of this project. It was much more that I had a briefing like we have as architects, and it sounded more or less like this. This is just an example, and don't take it too serious, but more or less it was about that. So they've talked about, we need about 45 open space working places. We need 3 meeting rooms, individual offices, 4 focus rooms, and so on and so on. Like a usual briefing. I mean, this is quite, yeah. So we started developing these layout things, and it took about 1 or 2 weeks. And the phone call arrived, and they told me, no, wait a moment, we have probably a merge or something, a new part of a company, and so on. We need suddenly 60 workplaces instead of 45, and we need 10 meeting rooms, but no individual offices, and so on. And yeah, how the story goes, it's clear. Also, these numbers were wrong. So he called me and told me and said, watch out. Would it be possible in the same space to bring in 120 people instead of 45 and so on? And normally I would say, come on, go home and make your homework. And when you know what you want, come back. But I realized that eventually, I mean, yes, it was not the final case like this. So basically, yeah, in the end, it was more or less like that. But that's not the important thing. The important thing for me was that I didn't get angry, because I realized it's not their own fault, because who can make a forecast what they will need in 2 years today? So is it, or could it be the situation or the fact that exactly this briefing problems is the future of office planning? So that was a quite interesting moment when I realized that this is probably a huge problem and a huge challenge for all over in the world. So starting from there on, I realized that we probably would need a system that is so much more flexible that we are used to. So wouldn't it be interesting having the possibility to change a project space in a town hall room, or a restaurant in a project space, or a workshop area in a restaurant, and so on and so on? And wouldn't it be interesting that we can change this constantly, and not in a short time, not in a long time? These changes has to happen very shortly. Okay, so the idea to say, would it be interesting to have an office system working like a kind of a Minecraft, that people can change the environment by themselves? So that was a strong trigger point. So this flexibility thing is important because there are so many existing systems all over in the market. They say they are flexible, but basically most of them are kits of the Action Office 2, basically. So there are all systems where you need a key, or you have to order pieces and you have to assemble them. And it's quite difficult to make these changes. But that's too slow, and that is not fast enough, because what I'm talking about is to change the office environment in minutes and not in weeks. So this was like not all these existing systems, or the biggest part of these existing systems, they work like a Lego system. You have to order these pieces. But I was looking for a system more like Playmobil. I don't know if you know this kind of play things, where you immediately start playing. It's like you have a police car, and the police car, you can immediately start playing, and you don't have to build it. And if you want to play with a firefighter, you don't take the police car, you take the firefighter. So this was the approach to say, we have to think different and to build up this kind of a Minecraft system for the office. Yeah, so that means we have important parts for this system. That was the base for the development. On the one side, as I already explained, this thing of this highest flexibility approach to say, we need the possibility to change everything in no time, Office Minecraft. We have another part. We have in the modern architecture, we have very often the situation that architects are building up office spaces, and to be transparent, they just leave away the walls. So we have huge open space areas, and that's quite a problem, because we need walls, and especially we need vertical surfaces. Vertical surfaces to get a good feeling when you're there. You need vertical surfaces to visualize your thoughts and to visualize what you are doing. And this is not just a need by the creative industry. This is also a need for everybody, because if you have a whiteboard or you have flip charts and all these kind of things, you need this this physical element to visualize what you have in your mind. So, and now you don't have any walls in office spaces. So this is a huge problem. So we need vertical surfaces somehow. All right, and then I call it the ficus problem. I have to explain it a little more, because normally we are evaluating nice assortment of furniture pieces for this business environments. And yeah, then we give it to the client, they move in, and then they start destroying the design, because they need many, many things we didn't have in mind, like screens, like, I don't know, somebody's calling, I have an acoustic problem, and floop, there is an acoustic absorber. Or we need some wardrobes, and we need some flip charts, and all these beautiful elements. And in the end, you have an assortment of many, many things, and they do not look nice anymore. So that's a main issue and a main problem, that a lot of offices don't look nice anymore when people are moving in. So I've been looking for a solution. How could we handle all these elements, especially all these things like flip charts and so on? And wouldn't it be possible to have something that brings all together what I just talked about? And now I'm shortening up the process, because it was, yeah, we've worked quite a long time for that. And at that point, it's interesting because the cooperation with Vitra started also at that time. I was in contact with Vitra at the very beginning of the project. And we've just talked a little bit about opportunities and so on. And when I had the project in my house, I contacted Vitra again, and I said, listen, I've got quite an interesting project, an interesting client. Would it be interesting for you to help me and to bring in as an object to develop this special project? And so this was the way how we started discussing. So the result was, this is the basic module of the dancing wall. This is a metal frame, and this metal frame has the idea to say we need a vertical separation in the space, and this vertical separation has to be movable as easy as possible. But it is not a light one, because when you have a light separation like this, you need large extensions. And when you have large extensions, it's difficult because you can stumbling over and so on. So the concept was to say, let's make this moving wall or this moving element this heavy that it is still easy to move, and exactly this heavy that the extensions will be short, that you will not stumble anymore. That's the reason why it looks like this, and that's also the reason why we have this heavy bottom of this frame. So starting from this frame, it is possible to hang in whiteboards. These whiteboards are elements, they are quite light and you can easily grab them and you can work on it and then you can grab it and you can take it to the meeting room and you bring your thoughts and your ideas into the meeting room and you take it back to the workplace, for example. These boards, you can also hang on walls, sure, and it's important that you, as I said, you can walk around with these boards, like whiteboards. Also pin boards and acoustic elements. And inside of the frame, it's possible to put in a screen and you can hide it. So normally you have a screen in somewhere in a room and it's like a black hole somewhere when there's no content on it. So, and you don't need anytime always the screen. So it's possible to hang something over the screen like whiteboard or screen or whiteboard or pinboard or so. And if you need the screen, you just can hang it up. Okay. And yes, okay, we can also do some shelves, but that was not the starting point. But these shelves are quite important because we also have a lot of, many times the need to store things like this, okay. And then we have an answer for the question how to bring greenery in a system and how to work with the greenery as an architectural element. In this case, it's like this green wagon, yeah. And also wardrobe. So with these elements, what is possible? Just to get a clear understanding, this is just one setup, one possible setup. And with the same elements, what we have here, like a huge working bench, we have a meeting room, we have a recreation area. And with the same elements, we can change the whole system in no time. And it looks like this. Different kind of project teams. In this time, we have, for example, 4 people teams and also meeting room, workshop areas. And the same system works like this and are always the same elements. So this is just to understand what can happen. So the dancing wall, and that's the name of this element, has become something in between. It's like something in between architecture and furniture. It's something in between, yeah. Okay. So the proof of concept we had was this, as I already mentioned, was the project for PwC in Zurich. And these are just a few slides how it looked like that time. And that was 2017 was that. So this is like a huge dance floor, we call it. And on this dance floor, we just can put in things like presentation situation. And here you can see the dancing walls were really roughly done. They are still the first prototypes of that. And we can easily change them in a workshop area. We have here also like this movable phone booth is just to structurize the space again. And we can easily remove it. Here you can also see the greenery wagon and so on. And you can easily move around. So this was in November 2017. So at that time, we realized also in the discussion with Vitra, and Vitra was, by the way, responsible for the production of all these elements of this prototype dancing wall. So we've started the discussion and we realized that there is probably a huge potential in this concept. And then we started in spring 2018, we started with the developing to make it a real product. That means the whole industrialization process is totally different to that what you have when you have a common architectural project. So we've started with that. And then in, that was October 2018, we've showed the first prototypes or the first industrialization prototypes at the Orgatec in Cologne, and a half year later in spring 2019 we released the first beta version. That was for Vitra very uncommon to launch product that is not yet finished. It's but there was a need on the market to bring the first products on the market. And then we've started, and finally in autumn 2019, we've launched the finalized product. And that was a coincidence with my own planning, because that was interesting. I always talked many things about this dancing wall concept and this dancing office concept. And then we've decided in our office to say, so we can not only talk, we have to prove. And so we've decided to realize our own dancing office, much more like a laboratory to figure out how we can work into the future. And this is now where I am. This is just downstairs, and just a few pictures of how it looks like in our own studio now. So we, as you can see, we have all these elements around, and yeah, we have also fixed parts because the total flexibility is not that what we are looking for. So you have always the need for closed areas. For example, when you have a discussion with an employee or something, you need the possibility for the discretion and all these kind of things. So we have that all, but we only have two closed spaces, and all rest is open and flexible. So, and this is just one part like this, or like this is exactly where I'm sitting now. I just can show you later on. Now it looks totally different. And yeah, we have all these spaces, and as you can see, is, for example, in this special case, these walls are walls, but they are furniture, and we can easily move the wall a half a meter in this side or in the other direction, and it changed totally the space expression. And I mean, you all know how it is or how it feels when you move the furniture in your private apartment. It's like move in a total new environment when you move the bed from one side to the other. So this exactly happens in our office all the time. So when we change it, it's always like moving in a new studio situation. It's quite amazing. So these are just a few impressions of the studio, and this is the second last slide, because this was the slide just before we had the lockdown. So we moved in November last year, and in March we had the lockdown, and we had to, everybody has to go in home office, and we've worked there for several weeks. And so we came back 3 or 4 weeks ago or so, and it took us exactly 1 hour to change the whole layout and made it Corona proofed. So we are sure that it's important that the architectural environment helps you to keep distance. It's because you forget it, you forget about it. You're working, you're in the process of working, and you forget that there is somewhere. You're used to go very close. So we've changed it, and now it looks like this. So we've built up some clusters, and the walls help us to make the separations, and it's a very natural process that people are working, have a lot of space. I mean, it's about 50% came back in the office in the first round, and the other part of the studio has been in home office. And currently we are working like a hybrid system. Some of people are working from home, and the other part is working here. And we have meetings mostly digitally and analog. So people are in the office and people are at home, and we connect them. And yeah, we have really a lot of video calls all over. But this combination feels quite good, because it was not that comfortable. Always only working with video calls is really tough. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. That's really, really difficult. And also to design things, it's really tough, because you cannot touch it, you cannot smell it, you cannot feel it. You're just working digital, and our people are really happy now to be back in the office. Mostly, and yeah, it feels now really, really nice, and we're really happy to be back in the office right now. So I think that was the last slide, like this.
Thank you. So are you able to show us around your office then? It's better to see it in real life than
yes, I can.
Slides.
I hope it's not too shaky, but I can just make a short walk through the office, and I come back then. So I'm, as you already have seen on the slides I showed you, I'm in the upper floor, and when we walk in this direction, for example, you can see exactly what I've talked before from this side, like this. Meeting room. Yeah, so, and we have many possibilities. I mean, this one, for example, this area was just a touchdown area we had. Now we've changed it, and we made a constant workplace here. And we have also this small spaces for meetings, or basically right now we have only video calls in it, because for meetings with more people, the space is too small, and we try to keep distance. And yeah, so far it works basically very well. And I'm really happy that the concept of this dancing office was really perfect now to react on this Corona situation.
And which part of Zurich are you in? You're in, it looks like you're in a tall building with sort of a village all around you. It looks very nice.
Yeah, it's quite, yeah, it's, let me say, it's Albisrieden. It's a little bit in, what direction is it? In the west. And it's there where many small companies are located and the new things are happening, because in Zurich it's quite difficult to find free spaces, and we have strong financial industry here, and that means for the creative industry it's difficult to find good locations. And this area is really challenging and inspiring, because there are many artists and designers and architects all over here, and it's getting better from month to month. Yeah, I mean, we had now a strong break because of the Corona situation, but I think, yeah, the area here is quite nice. And we're in the third floor. That means our floors are 5.5 meters high, so we are quite high, and we have a very nice view all over. And yeah,
nice office. Can you see, what can you see beyond the city? Can you see hills, and can you see the lake from there?
no, I cannot see the lake, so that's not, unfortunately, not possible. But we have a nice mountain here, the Uetliberg, and this is exactly in front of our window. And yeah, I can see on the other side. I mean, Zurich is really small compared to London. It's really nothing. So, but we have a nice view, yes, and yeah, we really love and appreciate it here.
So why did you call it the dancing office, or the dancing wall? It doesn't actually dance, and apart from when you're moving it around.
Yeah, no, the idea, because dancing is, there are many reasons. The first is the young people of today, they have a different view on what they are expecting from their job. When I studied, I knew, for example, when I'm really busy and when I'm working a lot, I will end up somewhere in a single room office. But people today, they know that this is not true anymore. So you can have the best school, and it's not guaranteed that you will end there. And basically, it's not anymore said that this is really the topic or really the goal you want to get to. So that means when I started working in offices, I was willing and to sit on a very bad place for, let me say, the first 2 years, because I know it will get better, and my intention was to stay there. Today, the people, they start working and they want to have the perfect solution now and not in 2 or 3 years. So that means the whole lifestyle has totally changed. And out of my point of view, I think the young people, they have a different, yeah, they're different. So that means they are used to share. They are used to have this work-life balance totally different. It's not anymore the goal to have a large car or something like that. It's much more the combination of digital lifestyle working thing. And that means it's much more, it's not more anymore task managing to work. It's much more like a kind of a choreography, and I call it teamwork. So that means that was the trigger to say, the dancing office is not basically a performing office. It's much more a choreography of work. That's why dancing. And why not flexible? Because dancing is much more dynamic. So sometimes it's static. Sometimes it's extremely floating. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's slow, and so on. And this is exactly how dance works as well. So a nice dance is always a combination of different form of movings and of different kind of emotions. And I think this is exactly what I wanted to express with the name of the dancing office. And yeah, the main protagonist is the dancing wall of this concept. Yeah.
Could you use it at home? Because people are talking more and more about not everybody coming back to the office. The Vitra e-papers we published today talk about increasing in home working, and how people who work from home, they're going to need office equipment as well. They can't just sit on the sofa or at the dining table. So could your concepts be adapted to the home?
When you have when you have enough space at home, it works. So yeah, eventually, yes. But I think to have really the potential of this dancing wall, I think you need a certain kind of a space that you can move it, because if you cannot move it, it's just a nice object eventually, like a shelf or so. But for yeah, in my home, for example, it would not fit, so it's so small to have that. So that's, but yes, why
I'm
not?
not sure. I'm not sure it would fit in our office either, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
What other changes do you think offices will see as a result of coronavirus? What is the thinking in your studio? What are your colleagues saying? What do you think?
I think the fact that we had to work from home from today to tomorrow, that was really strong, and that was somehow a shock as well. And we had to get used to this digital work, and it was amazing how quick and how fast companies adapted to the situation. We too. So it took us, let me say, a few days to have the technical problems solved and to find solutions how to connect to the server and all these kind of things. And I think there are also a lot of benefits working from home, especially when you have to work very focused. And you don't have loud children, by the way. So, but if you have the possibility to work at home in a very concentrated, I would even say working home and home office is the new single office today. That means the impact of this is huge. Currently, we have a client and we are building up about 800 workplaces or so. And during the process, we changed the ratio of the workplaces in the office immediately from 0.8 to 0.6 or so, because he realized the quality of homework is good so far. So probably it will be for the future, it will be a combination, like home office will stay, and in our special case as well. And for me in special, I really like to be at home, because to have more of the family life, also see my daughter more often and so on, this is really a very nice quality, and I really like that. And also I think years ago, I mean, the technology of video calls is not new, and a few years ago, we did video calls when there was no other possible way. Today is exactly the other way around. So we just travel when there is really no other way possible. And this is not that bad at all, because it's also good for nature. Don't travel this much and so on. And yeah, it's quite effective. And I think this combination will dramatically change the offices all over in the world. And one other important thing is the offices will change in this direction, that it is for companies really important that the office is becoming the community creating space, and the place where you are in your business home, and the place where companies can show their values, where companies can show their work. I mean, in our special case, again, it was really difficult for my employees working from home, because they just were involved in the project they were involved, but they didn't see the project the others are doing. And that's especially in our case, it's so important that everybody can see what's going on here. And to visualize what you're doing is so important, to get the feeling about the values, the feeling about the handwriting of a company. And this exactly will happen in the future in the headquarters, and the focused working part will probably disappear and will go more and more away, be it in that you work from home or third places, co-works and so on. But the basic thing will be the brand values, and the purpose of a company is that the core of the headquarter and the business office.
And a lot of people I've been speaking to over the last 3 months have been saying similar things about how you need those moments when you're with other people, particularly for creative decisions, for strategic decisions, you know, those kind of accidental encounters, serendipity. And that's mentioned in the Vitra e-papers as well. But also that you can get very lonely at home on your own. You kind of, sometimes you need to be in the same room as other people who are doing the same thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, we are designers and architects. So we are producing things here. We are doing physically stuff. So I mean, we cannot talk about surface without touching, and we cannot talk about materials without touching and smell it. So, and especially, yes, having a coffee and just talk a little bit with someone, and especially also humor, for example, is so important that you can laugh. And working on screen, it's somehow quite a sad story. So yeah, we are focused on a project, and then you have exactly 30 seconds pause, and then the next call is starting, and you're in the end of the day, you're totally crap because it's so intense and it's not funny anymore. So I think it's so important also have fun in yeah, humor and all these kind of things. Yeah, we realize that we miss that, and that's positive because I mean, this is probably that what in a long-term view will remain, because many of these, let me say, serial working things will be adapted by algorithms and robots. So what will remain in the end? And probably it is exactly that: being crazy, being empathic, being creative, being intuitive, and all these things, being human. So I mean, this is much more the core of what will happen in this office structures. Yes, being human there. Yeah.
That's a really good point. With the rise of artificial intelligence, the robots can do the boring stuff, right? The
Yeah,
robots
yeah,
can be
please.
on their own in a cupboard. We give us the fun stuff.
Yeah, please. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of fun stuff, I saw your puppet installation, the Giants with Dwarf in
Yeah.
Milan.
All right.
I was one of the first people to go in there. I thought it was
Okay.
amazing, by the way. It would really made me
Okay.
smile and laugh. But unfortunately, Ventura projects, they had to stop
Yeah, I
like
know.
forever. They've said they're not coming back. So what do
This
you
is
think is the
really,
future?
sorry.
What do you think is the future of events? Will people still travel to events? Will it be possible? Will that go online? I suppose it's again down to the human need to be sociable and to lots of people go to design fairs to hang out with their friends and
Yes.
colleagues rather than to look at the
Yes.
design.
No, I mean, Milano is for me one of the most important weeks in the year. I'm always so inspired when I come back, and it's always good to see all the people, as you mentioned. And I think, yeah, this Corona thing is really sad. And yeah, I mean, I think the day will come when there are some possibilities to impf, I don't know the word in English, that there is some medicine that you will not get caught. So, and when this is done, I think it will be amazing how these events will have a revival, especially this, let me say, I'm not talking about fairs in general, but exactly like Milano is special because all this Fuori Salone is so special because it's much more a way of life and a way of meeting people. And this is not fair, like showing the product. And this especially, I think this will have a huge revival as soon as possible. And I'm looking forward to next year, and I hope that it will happen again. In the opposite, I'm not sure about the fairs, the regular fairs. This is much more difficult because I think all the companies has realized they can do it also in different ways, and fairs are for companies very expensive. So if there is not really a good benefit to doing that, it will not happen. So I think creating in, especially let me say in Ventura Centrale, for example, these spaces they had there and these installations all over, every installation was an incredible experience. And this experience is so beautiful, people to see that and to be part of that. And as soon as possible, people will do that again. But walking through fairs and looking at 1, 2, 3,000 chairs, I'm not sure if this is the concept for the future. The other one, yes. The other one, I don't know.
Well, let's see how things go. I think we're all definitely desperate to get away from our screens and
Yeah,
see other human beings.
yeah, absolutely.
Stephan, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you also.
Best of luck with everything, and maybe we can see if we can fit some of your dancing office concepts in our
Yes.
office. We're just starting to come back now this week.
Yeah, you can call me anytime. It's fine. All right. Cool.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice time.
Bye.
Bye bye.